Good evening, and welcome along to the big show here on NVTV. Hope we found you well this evening. Now, look who's back.
Yes, I'm back. Did you miss me, Robin?
Of course I did.
We've got a great show lined up. Coming up, we have music from Brophy's Law, and we have Psychic Medium Hazel McWall.
We're also talking comedy movies with film critic Andrew Collins as well. If you had to choose your all-time favourite comedy movie, what would it be?
I've no idea what my all-time... comedies isn't really my... Have you got any options for me?
Well, we've been revisiting some of the big 80s comedies like Trading Places and Arthur and Aeroplane and stuff like that.
Of course, Aeroplane was brilliant.
So we'll chat to Andrew about some more of those a little bit later on. But as always, starting off the show, we take a look back at some of the more unusual and quirky news stories that have made the headlines during the week. To help us do it, two broadcasters from new Belfast radio station, Belfast 24/7, Mr. Drive Time, Paddy Boyd, and Old Mac himself, John McAtasney, joins us on the line. Guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. So Paddy, before we get into the news stories, let's do a plug for your Drive Time show because it's doing really well, isn't it?
It's doing very well. Going nearly 4 weeks now. Going from strength to strength. Loving life.
Indeed. Now, Old Mac, we can catch you on a Saturday as well. Coming live from the vault, can't we?
Yes, greetings. May I say you look exquisite in black, both of you.
Thank you.
I'm looking for something in black. But anyway, well, that's one of our stories that we're actually doing very shortly. Anyway, yes, greetings from Liverpool. The Vault, 10 a.m. on a Saturday, a couple of mystery hours, and a little bit of a bit in the middle.
So basically it's you locked in a vault for 3 hours with a load of old dusty records, isn't it?
Yes, I get the old stylus out, give it a good old shine, and we're ready to blast off from 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Be there.
Fabulous. Right, Paddy, let's start off with the news stories of the week. We're going to South Africa first, aren't we?
Yes, we're off to South Africa. Basically, it's a bit of a weird one. You know, it's either did she or did she not? Okay. A South African woman who claims to have given birth to 10 babies is appealing for money to help raise the huge brood as officials insist that they cannot find any evidence of the delivery. Basically, Josami Sitole, who is 37, I said that name well, didn't I? Former store manager said today that she will be unable to return to her job following the birth on Monday night in Pretoria and urgently needs donations of nappies, baby formula, bottles, clothes, and cash to get by. But basically, doubts are being raised over her account, with the government officials saying today that they cannot confirm the birth because nobody has seen her ever since. I don't know where she's went to. She's just disappeared.
Well, the big thing that you said there was she was asking for cash, so I'll imagine on Monday we'll all open up our emails to get this South African woman's email saying, yes, please send cash to this bank account number in South Africa.
There's no record. There's nothing. Private or in the public hospitals, they can't find a thing. They don't know what's going on. So yes, Robin, you're right. You're going to see the email. The Nigerian prince is through to the side. He's gone. He's away. You know, he has his 30 million that he can't give away for the last 7 years. And now we've got the girl who's appealing for money and wants the money, but there's no Nigerian prince running about to give it to her. You know what I mean? So I don't understand it.
So when you give birth to 3 kids, that's triplets, 4 are quads, what would 10 be?
Amazing. No.
A world record, obviously, yes.
It's called, I think it's Carol Vorderman, was mentioned by Old Mac when I spoke to him yesterday about this. I think it's called decuplets.
Wow.
So work that one out.
We're all stunned into silence. Yeah. I was hoping you could move on from quads. What was next to quads but quins? I think that's a family of travellers from County Galway. But anyway, and sextuplets, of course, as well.
Sextuplets, there's septuplets, there is...
An octopus?
There's octuplets, yeah.
Yes. And something
and basically, here, I'll tell you what, John, the record, sorry guys, you just talk amongst yourselves. John, there's actually the one, the Malian woman, she actually holds the record. She's gave birth in Morocco. She had 9 kids on the record, 9.
Okay, let's move on from that story. What have we got coming up next then?
Basically, we have one here about a poor man. God bless him. He was off sick. So there you go. He was off sick, and he thought, you know what? I'm going to go down to the social club here. He was off with COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. I'm near sure it is. He took time off from his work, and he was seen outside a social club. So basically, someone just squealed on him and said, I seen Colin down at the social club today, and they sacked him. But the best thing is, he took it to a tribunal, and he won.
Wow.
He won.
But you would think,
I'll quiz some out here. Basically, a driver who was sacked after he was seen drinking in a social club while off work through illness has won his case at an employment tribunal. Tribunal, if I can talk right today. 66-year-old Colin Kane was fired by Deb Mat Surfacing in Gateshead after he was seen smoking outside a bar in 2020. So basically, the judge just says, look, you're unfairly dismissed. Here's some money for you. Have fun.
Okay.
That must have been the most expensive cigarette ever.
Yeah, but the thing is, what was his job? Because if the job isn't connected with drinking, then there's no problem.
Yeah, there's none, John.
If he's a doctor.
No, he was like Deb Mat Surfacing, so he must have been doing something with the roads or something like that.
If he was a driver, yes. Or if he was involved in, like I said, medical services, yes. But you've got to follow a process, Paddy, when you get sacked from Belfast 24/7.
Yeah, but think about it.
I would have thought that if somebody was off sick, then to be fined, especially with COPD or whatever, and was standing actually smoking and making that condition worse, surely. And also being at a bar when you're supposed to be off sick and work. I mean, I wouldn't have thought he would have won that case, but that interesting. Okay.
It's people then making a moral judgment on someone's behavior. If it's not connected to his work, then he should be entitled to go out, because a doctor could say, well, he's probably feeling quite depressed, and going out and having a drink and have a social interaction could be good for his recovery.
It says here that in the judge's judgment delivered in May, that she also found that the firm had not undertaken a fair disciplinary process, which you're talking about, John. But it says the best one here was, in a phone call, Mr. Kane was said to have told bosses that he'd been in bed all day with a bad chest. But he was spotted standing outside his social club with a cigarette in his hand going, you know what I mean? I mean, come on, guys. But listen, he has a brass neck. He done it, and he won.
Exactly. So
Yes.
well done to him.
Well
Result for him. And on that note, we shall have to say goodbye to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. And we'll see you on the radio, guys.
Well, you'll hear us
Hear
at
you
least.
on
You
the
won't
radio.
see us. Look at this. Face for radio.
Saturdays, 10 a.m. Be there.
Monday to Friday, 4 until 7. Belfast 24/7. Thank you, guys.
Ta-ra!
And unplugging. Right, go away. There we go.
Bye.
There they go. Oh, do you know what? We got to take some music now.
We definitely have to.
Do you want some folk punk?
Yeah, wow.
There is such a thing. These guys have been described as the Pogues meet the Clash. You're going to love this. A track called The Bachelor. Here comes Brophy's Law.
I left school at 16 to work on the factory floor. I worked alongside old men who have been there since the war. They taught me everything I knew. They taught me right from wrong. They pounded me right down my neck and sang me their old song. Hey! My education was a blaze of drinking nights and drinking days, getting drunk, falling down and sober thoughts of you. The atmosphere was pints of beer, whiskey jar and steel guitar. Raised the toast and sang a song and then another one. Hey! Set my life on the drinking chair, by the bar, by the pump, by the barrel. I met a girl one drunkard night by the name of Annie McCarroll. She took me on for what I was. She tried to change me something new. My way of life, my drinking ways, I wasn't right for you. Yes, you are so pretty, you'd make a lovely wife, but I'd rather be a bachelor and lead a drinking life. Yes, you are so pretty, you play the perfect marriage game. I'd rather be a bachelor and drink myself insane. Hey! You are so pretty, you'd make a lovely wife, but I'd rather be a bachelor and lead a drinking life. Yes, you are so pretty and play the perfect marriage game. I'd rather be a bachelor and drink myself insane. I'd rather be a bachelor and drink myself insane.
And that was The Bachelor by Brophy's Law, and we've been playing that all week in the office. I love it.
We have, it's great. We better play another tune very shortly as well. We'll play one called The Record Collector. Before we do that, here's what happens when I caught up with Neil from the group Brophy's Law. Neil, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty good, yeah.
And you're currently in Copenhagen. What's life like over there?
Copenhagen, we're hopefully, fingers crossed, about another 2 weeks of lockdown, and then it's going to open up in stages. Still, live music's going to be the last thing to open, but yeah, it's not the best. It's not too good, but there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. So, what was it that took you across to Copenhagen then?
Well, I left on a backpacking trip about 30 years ago, down through Australia and New Zealand. I was down there for a few years. Never made it back. I just carried on traveling, and probably about after 5 or 6 years, I ended up in Denmark and haven't left. There's a huge live music scene here. Well, not huge, but it suited what I was doing, and there was no reason for me to go back, really. Of course, I've got family back home, but which I visit regularly. But it's just a great place.
And were you always into the Irish music?
Yeah, there's a lot of Irish pubs in throughout Scandinavia. That boomed that kicked off in the early 90s, and I was lucky to be there at the start of it all. So
tell us about the band then. I mean, I love the description. The Pogues meets the Clash.
Yeah, that's we played the last time we were touring in the UK. We played at the John Peel Centre, and it went really well there, and we got asked back, and they were really digging what we're doing, and it's pretty much So some of the stuff is leans more, got a bit of a punk edge to it. Not that the Clash were that punk, they were a band on their own, really, their own sound. But yeah, I suppose there was punk, mainstream punk at that time. But yeah, it's got that. I grew up, as you can hear, I don't have an Irish accent.
Yeah.
My grandfather, grandparents are from Dublin, but I grew up in the UK in Northampton, and grew up going to seeing the live music scene in London, which again was the Clash and the Jam. And then after the Clash and Jam had been running for a couple of years, then came the Pogues, and basically a punk band playing Irish music, and with Shane MacGowan,
Wow.
The man himself. And yeah, I was just into the London beat, and the Pogues gave me the Irish, enhanced the Irish, and I love, that's how I write. I write in that vein, basically. That they're my big influences. So the guy who said where the Pogues meet the Clash pretty much nailed it. Tell
us about the song The Bachelor. We're loving that, but you wrote this when you were 18, didn't you?
Yeah. At the time, as I say, I wrote it in the shoes of Shane MacGowan. It was, I just thought I've got to write a song in that. That was what I was writing. That style. I was writing about London as well, about drinking, and that one just came out. It's in the same sort of vein as Streams of Whiskey. From the first couple of albums, that's the style I was really influencing me. And wrote it. I don't know where Annie McCarroll came from. It just rhymed with barrel, so I had to think of a girl's name that rhymed with barrel. So there's a girl in my class called Teresa McCarroll, I think, but which I just changed it to Annie McCarroll. So and just about saying sod it, I'm just going down the pub instead of hanging out with Annie.
Something we can all identify with. So once we get ourselves out of lockdown, are you guys going back out on the road? Will you ever come to Ireland?
Yeah, that's the plan. That's why we're doing quite a lot of promotion with this song in Ireland. I was in Ireland about 2 years ago. I played in Dublin, Dingle, Waterford, a couple of other places now. I can't remember. It's quite a blur.
Well, I would imagine, but you've got to add Belfast next time.
Definitely, yeah. I've got some friends up there in the area, so yeah, definitely. Belfast and Derry. That's,
definitely.
They're the two places I want to go to. I've never been to Belfast, so
really, wow.
And I've never been to Liverpool either, so maybe I could do both of those in the same trip.
It's only 25 minutes in the air. That's what it's like. Yeah, just like that. I've got another one of your songs standing by. The Record Collector this time. What's the story behind this one?
Well, as I write it, basically, I was just a music nut. I mean, in those days, back in the day, as the people say, we only spent our money on drink and music and clothes, So yeah, my record got quite a large record collection with all the singles, and I used to love going down because the music I liked was maybe when the Clash and the Jam first came out. I was only like 9-10 years old, so yeah. At the age of 12, 13, I had to fill up my catalogue with them, and there was a record shop, second-hand record shop called Memory Lane, where I would go down there every Saturday and pull out all the songs I didn't get when they first came out, and that was a passion, because you'd every week you'd go down there and there'd be you'd find something you were really looking for.
And do you remember the first record you ever bought?
Yeah, it was Poison Ivy by the Lambrettas. That was the first album. That was the first album, and I don't know whether it was. I think it could have been my brother's first album. Was the Specials. That was the first album I remember being in the house. Specials by the Specials. So yeah, that was a good album to kick off with.
Well, Neil, it's been great talking to you, and let's hope we get you here to Belfast sometime very soon.
I hope so. So you're playing giving the Bachelor a spin.
Yes, playing The Bachelor. We played that first, and we'll go with The Record Collector now as well. So we'll give both a good spin.
Excellent. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for the interview.
Thank you.
Okay.
Saturday morning, the same old queue. They go downtown, bus shopping crew. I couldn't help it, I was born with it. I had vinyl on my mind. A pocket full of change from a part-time job. Learned the alphabet down the record shop. Shuffling the archives of our lives, 33s and 45s. I was never alone. I was never alone. I was never alone. I was never alone. The jukebox days of a teenage record collector. The recollector. Record collector, the recollector, down memory lane. I was too young for my favourite band. Got the early stuff from the second-hand stand. Going underground. Pink vinyl, cool for cats. I was a lover of the picture cover, scholar of the inner sleeve. Japanese imports and promo cuts meant so much to me, meant so much to me, meant so much to me, meant so much to me. meant so much to me. The jukebox days of a teenage record collector, the recollector, down memory lane. The jukebox days of a teenage record collector, the recollector, down memory lane. The needle on the record that scratched the flip, the 2-pence coin so it didn't stick. Jumping on the bed playing air guitar, the imaginary boy. The compact disc just wasn't me, and now it's all gone MP3. The end of an era from a record player, it will never be the same, never be the same. Never be the same. Never be the same. Never be the same. The jukebox days of a teenage record collector, the recollector, down memory lane. The jukebox days of a teenage record collector, the recollector, down memory lane. Down memory lane.
Great song. That's the Record Collector. That's from Brophy's Law. That's just amazing music, isn't it?
Brilliant music.
Yeah, more of that. Right, we're talking to a psychic medium now who's got a big gig coming up at the Crumlin Road Jail in Belfast on the 11th of September. We'll find out more about that very shortly. But I'm pleased to say we're joined on the line by Hazel McWall. Hazel, how are you?
Hi, Hazel.
Fine. Lovely day today, actually. It's lovely outside.
It's great. So thank you for joining us on the show. Now, usually when we do these interviews with psychics and mediums, you get two sides of people watching. One of them will say, I don't believe in any of this. Or the other side, some people say, yeah, she was really, really good, don't you?
Yeah, you do. But
yeah, I
can actually say that she really is good.
Yeah.
Because you gave me a psychic reading on the phone. Because, of course, you started to do phone calls and you've never met these people before. You don't know who they are. You know nothing about them. You knew nothing about me. And I can tell you already that some of the things that you had said to me on that call has already started to happen.
There you go. That speaks for itself, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I find my gifts and abilities, I like a challenge. So when I have bookings, I normally just have the first name. And my daughter takes the bookings, and I don't talk to people on the phone because I pick too much up on the phone even before I do readings. That's what I'm totally honest with you. And Angelina books them, and then what happens is that on the night you ring the number, I go into the reading room and I get messages from Spirit World, and I do the psychic as well. So the combination of the two gifts together, and I give you exactly what I'm getting. And I don't do airy fairy. I don't give people, what's the word I would use? I don't mislead people. I give them exactly what I'm getting.
Okay, so Hazel, how did you first discover that you had this gift?
My mother had the gift. Now, she's past 16 years, and she was very aware. She didn't do it as a business. She was very, very aware, and she used to say a lot of things to people which actually did come true. My father's 90. He's still alive. He's very, very psychic. So I have the combination of two abilities rather than one, because sometimes you either have to be a medium or a psychic. It's very seldom you get the two together. And it happens after my mother passed over. It happened. I was very aware as a child of a lot of things, and then as you get older and it progressed through life, it actually develops more. That's how mine developed as I got older. And then I started my business 16 years ago, Sapphire, and then it's Hazel McWall, and it went from there basically. And it's taken me in a very different type of a journey of different places, different people.
You've used it for some really good stuff as well. You've helped the police with some kind of high-profile cases too, haven't you?
Yes, I actually didn't go looking for that. That came looking for me. I didn't actually intentionally say, oh God, I'm going to go and work for the police, or I'm going to work with the guards in the Republic of Ireland. Circumstances, somebody came for a reading, And I said to them that at the end of the reading, sometimes I would say to people, is there anything you want to ask specifically when I'm doing it towards the end, because I've given them all the information. And somebody asked me a particular question, said a name, first name. I said an envelope. I said a letterbox. I said a map. I said within a period of time, and within that period of time it did happen. The remains of the body was found. And then shortly after that, when the remains were buried, 3 months after that, I went and met the family, and I gave them specific information connected to that particular murder and a name of somebody that was linked to it that I had no idea about, and the detail was very, very specific. So yes, a lot of detail.
So can you pick up on things like really, really quickly within seconds of talking to somebody?
Yes, I can pick up on you straight away.
Okay, so we're doing this now. We're on Zoom right now. What are you getting from me at the moment?
From yourself, I would say that what I get is I don't like look at people's faces when I pick up on things. So I'll just look slightly away, because that's just the way I am. Because I think people can look at your energies and read your facial expressions, and I don't like. That's why I would say personally, what I get is a lady passed over around you. I also get that you have problems with your stomach area, digestive system. Okay. I would also you have problems also with your lower back area, and your sleep pattern is very haywire.
Okay, well, the sleep pattern thing at the moment is, because it's been a very busy, very stressful 4 or 5 weeks, so the sleep patterns are everywhere.
You've also had really bad acid reflux.
Yes,
and
yeah.
it starts in the stomach.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely there. The woman that's passed over is probably your granny.
Probably, yeah.
Because you were very close to her.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So that makes sense. Yeah, definitely.
The lady I see passed over is small. She's small in height. She would have had golden brown colour of hair originally. A very petite lady in her day. She would have had problems with her lungs, in her lung area. Okay. And she would have been a sort of person that was more outside. To me, she loved flowers. She's more outdoors than indoors. That's the sort of person she was. She's talking about the name Margaret connected, the name Margaret, and she's also talking about the name Anne connected as well.
Excellent.
Fascinating. What about Pauline? Are you picking up anything from Pauline?
Very genuine, very kind-hearted. Would try to do too much sometimes and carries an awful lot of weight of different situations around her. She's also change of circumstances with papers and documents coming in the next week, 2 weeks. Oh, sorry, and you need to be aware of high blood pressure.
Yeah, I actually have high blood pressure. Yeah, I have high blood pressure, definitely. And
I had mine checked the other day, so mine's fine.
Yours
My
is
blood
fine.
pressure's
yeah,
fine.
No, I'm medicated for high blood pressure, so yes, and you're right. I am a bit. I think I'm a bit psychic, and from a child, and would see things, and sometimes hear things. People would think you're mad, but yeah, I found that very difficult as a child, because I kind of had a sixth sense and could see things, and then the things happened, and so that sent me into a very deep depression for many years. But now I see it as a complete gift, but I do pick up on people's energies, so yeah, and sometimes, like last week, I wasn't in a good place because I was picking up on different people's energies last week. So yeah, you're absolutely right there. And I'm interested in what the documents are.
you see, when you pick up on energies, you see, because you're too open sometimes, you'll pick up, if you're around a supermarket, you could pick up on somebody and you get a very negative energy and you get very worn out and tired because it's actually draining your own energies. That's why that happens with a lot of people.
Hazel, what would you say to all the skeptics out there, the non-believers?
I have met quite a lot of skeptics, to be perfectly straight with you. And I met, actually, it was a detective. And I met him, he said, I don't believe in anything you do, I said, that's fine, I respect anybody's opinion. And I said a few things to him, right? And 2 weeks later, he rang me for a reading on the phone. I love a challenge. Don't judge me until you've actually had a reading with me, then make your mind up.
We're going to see you live at the Crumlin Road Jail on the 11th of September. That's obviously pretty exciting. What can we expect from this?
A very different type of a medium psychic show, because I'm going to be doing it my way. It's going to be where I can get up on stage and give out the messages the way I want to give them out when spirit comes through, so you don't have to hold back. Because sometimes you have to be very, very careful when you're in spiritual churches how you actually approach and give a message out. Because I'm doing it my way, I'll be doing it the way I want to do it, and it'll be fun. Very emotional. A lot of different types of readings that night, possibly. I'd say we'll have a lot of unusual circumstances. I'm expecting a lot of people to go along and possibly a lot of emotion that night, but it'll be a brilliant night.
Okay, well, it sounds great. Tickets are on sale right now, 11th of September, Crumlin Road Jail. We should go along to that as well.
Absolutely. We'll be there with bells on.
Definitely. Hazel, if people are watching this and want to get in touch with you, maybe they fancy having a reading or something, how do they do that?
You can get me on Facebook, Hazel McWall, or you can get me on, basically I'm on Instagram as well. And all my details are on Facebook, and you can find everything there, and the numbers to text for booking messages, booking a reading as well.
All right.
Brilliant.
Well, Hazel, it's been great talking to you. Great seeing you in person at last, and thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Hazel.
Lovely talking to you both. I'd love to see. Hopefully, we'll see you both there on September the 11th.
Definitely.
We'll be there. Thank you. And we're going to be talking about laughing our way out of lockdown, because comedy films have been voted the nation's favourite movie genre. Earlier this week, I caught up with film critic and broadcaster Andrew Collins to talk more about this. Here's what happened. On the line, Andrew, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. I like the colour of your shirt.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell us more about this research then. What have we discovered?
Well, the research was done because of the launch of a quartet of movie channels. Great Movies is going to be the name of this set of channels. Great Movies with an exclamation mark. That's important to know. And there are in fact 4 channels: Great Movies, followed by Great Movies Classic, which is clearly devoted to classic movies. Great Movies Action, which I think is self-explanatory, and Great TV for people who yearn to watch old episodes of Starsky and Hutch, of which I can totally get on board with, I must admit. So that's the Great Movies set of channels, and it's our excuse to do some research and find out, while during lockdown, what people liked to watch in terms of film. And amazingly, it's comedy. I don't think that's a massive surprise, because it's not been a very comedic year. Yeah. So anything that gives us a smile is definitely worth doing. And I think we're very well served by film channels now on television. You know, I grew up at a time when there were 3 TV channels and everything was in black and white. This is very hard to convey to younger people, but that is how it was. And I never complained, because we used to watch black and white things on television, on black and white television. So, you know, I've always feel grateful that the TV gives us so much. You know, we've had at least a year where we've not been able to go to the cinema, which is something we all used to do. And that's kind of been taken away. Whether it will come back in the same way that it was when it left us, I don't know, but we'll see about that. Certainly there's definitely an appetite for films, and I think the fact that the Oscars weren't really like the Oscars this year, because a lot of the big films were held back, and so we had lots of smaller films, which I think is a fantastic thing, by new directors, more thoughtful movies, smaller movies, quieter movies like Nomadland and Minari, and lots of other films that did well at the Oscars that might not have done in other years, you know, in more glitzy years. So I think we're in a good place in terms of talent, film talent, but at the same time we're slightly awash because there is so much to watch. Yeah. And you know, it's quite true that you can watch a film made in the 1940s, something from the film noir years, and have a fantastic experience. Brilliant, sort of hard-boiled detective story made in the 1940s, which is as good now as it was when it first came out. So, you know, new films, I'm very excited about new films and smaller films, but at the same time, I would love to sit down and watch, you know, an epic, a Hollywood epic, anytime.
Well, coming back to the comedy movies, during lockdown, one of the things that I've been doing is revisiting some of the great comedy movies from the 1980s, watching things like Trading Places and Aeroplane and stuff like that, movies that are still absolutely hilarious today.
Absolutely right, and in fact, Airplane is a landmark film. because the idea of a spoof version of something that used to be very serious and would have a very serious actor being the pilot of the plane, and you can see these films, you can find these films, what they were like were basically po-faced and very serious and buttoned up, whereas once Airplane came along and got its teeth into the genre, the reason it was so funny is because we knew what the originals were like. So we'd seen disaster movies in the 70s, and so we knew what it was parodying, so we were all completely in on the joke. And still now today there are jokes there that people will say, something about hospital, and they go, "What's that?" No, that's a big building with loads of ill people in it. It doesn't. That doesn't even sound very funny when I say it, but it's funny when in context. So yes, I think Airplane is a great example of a film that will just live and live and live on.
And talking about the serious disaster movies, I rewatched the original version of the Poseidon Adventure recently as well. What a movie with Gene Hackman, and of course that famous death scene for poor old Shelley Winters as well.
Yeah, which is a spoiler, but not too much of one, so we'll let it pass. But I was very young when I saw the Poseidon Adventure, and I was taken by my dad for my younger brother's birthday, and we went to see the Poseidon Adventure. He'd seen it with Mum, and they really enjoyed it, and it came round for a second time, which is what films used to do in those days. And we sat down in front of the Poseidon Adventure, and it terrified me. It utterly terrified me. I came out having an existential crisis, which lasted for many years, and I was very, very scared of ships and water because of that. Jaws had the same effect, I know, on people of a similar age. And I now hold the Poseidon Adventure to be one of my most favourite films. I absolutely love it. I've seen it so many times. And then I caught part of the Towering Inferno on television on another one of the film channels the other day, and I was already half an hour in, but I had to sit down and watch it to the end. They just have such a pull. And so some of those films now clearly probably not quite right for lockdown, when we're all having quite difficult problems to deal with of our own. Not quite as big as being trapped in an ocean liner that's hanging upside down and will eventually capsize, but nevertheless. Even that is escapism. You're not on that ship. You'll feel terrible for the fictional characters that are on it, but you're not on it. So, you're safe. You're in your living room. You're okay.
Now, the research also talks about action and adventure movies. James Bond is still coming out on top. And, of course, we've just been waiting so long to see Daniel Craig back as James Bond. Are we ever going to get to see this movie or not?
Well, I'm starting to think that maybe we'll see the next James Bond movie before the current one that we still haven't seen. Still have one in the tank. So if we don't like the new one, well, here's another one then. And it should be Daniel Craig's last Bond movie. Maybe they'll have to speed up the process and get to the female James Bond or the black James Bond sooner. These are the inevitable things that are going to happen. But they'll always have a spare one.
Really? Do you really believe that's going to happen? We're going to get a female James Bond at some stage?
Yeah, you have to. You just have to. We've got a female Doctor Who. It's got to happen. It just got to happen. We live in a world now where we're much more enlightened, and it's not always the man who has to save the day. It could be the woman. It could be the white person, the black person. It doesn't matter. The field is wide open. So in a way, we need the new Bond to come so we can get it out of the way and get on with the next one.
Oh, well, I think poor old Ian Fleming will be spinning in his grave somewhere, possibly, at the thoughts of the...
You're right. He wouldn't have approved of a lot of the things that happened after he died, sadly, with his character. But nevertheless, I think in some ways it kind of came back to the original style of James Bond. And so I think Ian Fleming would have approved of that.
Now, there's an interesting piece in the research as well about the fictional villains like the Joker, Darth Vader, and Count Dracula as well. We've seen Dracula so many times being reinvented over the years. For me, and I was only 5 the first time I watched Christopher Lee melt in the original Hammer Dracula, and that had a long-lasting effect on me. Still scares me to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot riding on that character. The idea of crosses and stuff like that, and the religion that sort of surrounds it all. So there's an awful lot going on in Dracula in the original book, obviously, but in the early Universal black and white horror movie of Dracula. I mean, I think that's one of the all-time greats, and it is so scary. But equally, so is Nosferatu, the silent version that came out before that, which I'm sure you love as well.
Now let's come back to the great TV selection. You mentioned Starsky and Hutch earlier on. I see one of my favourites is on this list, and I've been watching it recently, and William Shatner is just brilliant as T.J. Hooker.
Yeah, absolutely superb, TJ Hooker, and what a great milestone for him to pass 90. And he's still at it, still brilliant. People still love him. If anything, more. We lost Leonard Nimoy and a lot of the other cast. So it's fantastic that Kirk is still there, leading us all to boldly go where no one has gone before.
To finish up, Andrew, I'm going to ask you about your favourite movies of all time. If you had to pick maybe 3 of your all-time favourites, what would they be?
Yeah, well, I would always pick Apocalypse Now by Francis Coppola, which is a long film. It's a kind of odyssey set in the Vietnam War. It's a big film, a demanding film. It's got lots of layers, awful lots of stuff in it. But that aside, I love Carry On Screaming. So I would sit down with Carry On Screaming any day of the week and Apocalypse Now. That would be a good double bill. For a third part, let's think. I should pick a new film. So why not pick Minari, which was one of the near Oscar winners this year, which is about a film not a film in South Korea, but a film of a family from South Korea who move over to Arkansas to try and till the land and find a new life in America. It's a beautiful film, highly recommended. Could have easily been the Best Picture win this year, and that's something I would look out for if you haven't seen.
All right. Well, Andrew, it's been great talking to you. I could talk movies with you all day, but we're out of time. I'll have to get you back on at some other stage. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks, and keep an eye out for that exclamation mark in great movies.
So lots of great new channels there for us.
We'll check those out over the coming weeks and indeed months. So that's all we have time for on The Big Show this evening. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all the guests. And of course, we'll see you back here same time next week. Bye-bye.
See you then.